Hey there, crafty friends! It's Tina the Scrappin' Rabbit here for Scrappy Tails Crafts, and in today's video we're going to be creating an adorable little spring and critter themed card using the new dies from Scrappy Tails Crafts. Right here I have the A7 cover plate dies, which have a floral frame as well as a border, some words, and some beautiful flowers. And the second set is the Garden Stand Animals die set. Now you know that this is my absolute favorite, and I'm really excited to get to work with this set today. Look at those bunnies and the little corgi. Then you get the little kitties. You even have some layering pieces in there. Some of the dies are quite small, but that's okay because they are pretty easy to use, especially if you have the right tools. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I'm going to use this inside layering piece that actually does a cutout for the window and the floral frame itself. I picked out some wood grained pattern paper, and I'm just going to tape this die and center it, just eyeballing it, and run it through my die cutting machine, and then you can see that it cut it out and it left a frame, like a wood frame. The size card is an A7, which is 5 by 7, and I'm going to also use some green textured cardstock to cut out the frame. Look at how pretty that sets in there. I just love the way that that looks. Here is the flower dies. It's nice that they're all connected, and so you can run them through one time and have all the little flowers that fit in your border. I'm going to do some easy coloring. I'm going to grab a really light shade of pink, the RV000, and I'm just going to color over all of the flowers. I'm going to also grab a couple darker shades, which is the R81, and I'm just going to color in the little lines. Now you can use colored cardstock. These little dies have the little lines to give it texture, but I decided that I was going to color them. I'm going to blend out that R81 with the RV00, and that gives you like a little blossom look where you have the darkest in the middle going out to the light, and I love the way that that looks. So now that I have my florals colored, I'm also going to add a little bit of dimension using my Copic markers on this green cardstock. I'm going to use the YG67 and just add a little bit of shading on the undersides of some of the leaves. I'm just randomly going through real quickly. This is not a serious coloring right here. It's just adding a little dimension, blending it out with the lighter shade of green, which is the YG63. And then I'm going to take the lightest green and then add the most color in terms of blending it out and then just filling in some of the vine area. I really feel like that is much quicker than using white cardstock, especially since you know the whole thing is going to have that base shade layer of green. And the Copics will blend on the cardstock just fine, and it lightens up as it dries. So now to color the little critters, I decided that I was going to use white cardstock. I kept some of the tiny pieces attached to the bigger ones so I wouldn't lose them, but I chose the dog, the cat, and the little butterfly. Look at that little collar, is just so darn cute, and then there's even a layering piece for his nose. I find that when I'm using these little teeny tiny pieces, having a little dish or a little cup to keep them in helps them to not get lost. I'm going to add some shading to these die cuts, and for the kitty's going to be a white kitty, but I'm going to use the warm grays to do a little outlining around his little body, and then just blending it out. So the W1, the W0, and then the W00. Just to outline it and give him a little bit, so he stands out a little bit more on the background. I'm going to add a little pink into the ears, the E01, and blend it out with the RV00, add a little cheek. And I think that this little kitty is just so cute. The R81 for the nose, and then softening it up with the RV000. I have this little microliner pen which works perfect to do the detailing for the eyes. Now moving on to the little pup, I'm going to use the E35 and do a little outlining. That's the darkest shade there, just to give it a little dimension for his little ears and his little paws, blending out with the E31. Now when I do these little die cuts, I kind of think of it as a stamp. It's almost like the no coloring stamping, and I'm just filling in with the color. I did cut out the collar in a colored cardstock, so I'm just kind of leaving that blank. And I also am going to leave the muzzle white because I did cut out that layer as well. I'm blending out going back in with some more color, the E35, the E31, and then the lightest color is an E30. I'm also adding some warm grays, the W0 for his little white spot on his chest, the E01 and the RV00 for the ear, and I'm just adding a little outlining to that little nose piece, and then I'll glue it on. So cute. So tweezers really help for these small little pieces, as well as a picker tool, like a jewel picker tool for the little nose there. So now that I have the little critters colored, I'm just taking a pencil and marking the inside of the frame area so that I know where to add the ink for my background. I'm picking out a couple of the greens in my distress inks, and I'm adding the darker one. I believe that's the peeled paint, and then the shabby shutters towards the top there. Very easy, like nothing special, just a little bit of a blend. I'm taking the tumbled glass distress oxide, adding a lighter blue along the edge of the green grass, and then adding the darker color, the salvaged patina, across the top until I get to that little pencil line. There's no need to ink the entire panel because the frame does cover it up. I'm going to add a little bit of splatter. I find that these little details really do add so much to your card. Just these little speckles just give it a little bit more texture. So I'm adding some green for the grass, some darker green ink, and then I'm adding my glimmer mist, the silver drops to the sky. I just love the way that that looks. I'm going to set those aside to dry, and I decided to add some more die cut pieces using the new A7 Storefront Flower Shop add-on. You get a lot of really great little plants and florals with this set. So I cut them out, as you could see, and I did color them up off camera to save some time. I want to stamp a sentiment. I haven't received any of the new stamp sets yet. I can't wait to get them. So I'm going to make these some happy birthday cards, and I'm just going to add some of that antistatic powder on there, and I'm using my VersaFine black ink to stamp happy birthday on there because I do want to heat emboss it. I'm going to use some clear embossing powder for that, and I love the way that an embossed sentiment looks. After heating my heat tool for several seconds, I'll melt that powder down, and there it is. So my A7 card, I'm going to use some liquid glue to glue the background panel on there. I love this size card. These larger size cards just seem so much more substantial. So I'm going to also glue that frame piece on there as well. You could pop it up with foam tape if you wanted to add more dimension. I'm keeping this card more on the flat side because I am going to be adding some gems to it. Gluing the frame on there as well. I do like my Barely Art glue for all these little tiny droplets of glue that really secure all of your die cuts down. How pretty is that? I just love the way that turned out. So now it's time for the fun, the placement of all the little images, just like when you stamp and color. So I have all my little die cuts colored, and I'm just arranging them on my card. I'm not going to pop any of them up. I'm just going to glue them down with the liquid glue as well. Now, finding the arrangement can take quite some time for me, so I'm speeding through this so that it doesn't take too much time for this video. And you see how all of this pops on just nicely with the liquid glue. I love how the little kitty is pawing at that purple butterfly, and I just feel like this card has a real spring vibe to it. So once I have all my pieces glued down, now it's time to add some embellishments to that floral frame. I'm using these pink Nouveau drops. It's called the Sherbet Shimmer, and I'm also going to add some of these gemstones. Now I know that I missed that flower there. I will get it towards the end. I didn't realize it at the time that I forgot to add the Nouveau to that flower on the far left. I'm just randomly adding some of these gems to some of the little buds in that die cut. And I feel like it adds that extra sparkle, that extra texture and dimension. And that completes my card. So as I craft, I always try to do multiples, and so I did do 2 of this card. I thought about doing a variation with different critters, but I just love the corgi and the kitties so much. So I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you'll check out the Scrappy Tails Craft shop and check out these adorable garden stand animals dies, as well as the A7 flower cover plate, especially if you're looking to make more A7 size cards. And that's all for today. Thanks again. I hope you have a fantastic day. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.